with 60% or more saying the country is on the wrong track. Several polls right now show around that level, which signals voter frustration. White heavy checkmark putting it together. Right now, analysts see some warning signs for Republicans, but not a guaranteed collapse. What could still change the outcome before November? Economic changes, inflation, gas prices. Major court developments. International crises. Voter turnout. U.S. elections often shift dramatically in the last few months. If you want, I can also explain something many experts are quietly talking about right now. The three scenarios where Trump and Republicans could actually lose very big in November. It's a pretty interesting political calculation. Yes. Analysts who study elections often talk about three situations that could produce a large loss. Wave election, for a party tied closely to a leader like Donald Trump and the Republican Party. These are scenarios, not predictions, but they're the kinds of patterns that have led to big swings in the past. 1. A major scandal or damaging court outcome. If a highly visible legal development happens close to an election, such as a damaging verdict, new evidence, or major hearings, it can shift independent voters and dominate the news cycle. Historically, scandals affecting a party leader have sometimes caused large electoral swings because undecided voters move away. The opposition becomes more motivated to vote. But the effect depends on timing and whether voters view the situation as legitimate.
Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children.
2. Economic frustration spikes. The economy is usually the #1 driver of elections. If voters feel things are getting worse, like rising food prices, rent or housing costs, gas prices, unemployment, they often punish the party they associate with national leadership. Even small shifts in economic sentiment can swing districts and swing states. 3. Opposition turnout surge. Large election losses often happen when the opposing party becomes highly energized. This can occur when younger voters show up in larger numbers. Suburban voters shift strongly. Turnout among opposition voters spikes. High turnout waves have produced big shifts in elections like 1994, 2010, and 2018. Some recent special elections have shown Republicans underperforming, even in districts or areas that usually lean Republican. Analysts are watching those closely because special elections can sometimes signal shifts in voter enthusiasm before a larger election. Here's how political strategists usually interpret that. 1. What special elections can indicate. Special elections are often seen as early warning signals. When a party loses ground in areas that normally support them, it can suggest lower enthusiasm among their voters, higher turnout among the opposition, a protest vote against national leadership. For example, both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party have experienced this in different cycles. 2. Historical examples. There are several cases where special elections hinted at larger shifts. 2017 to 2018, Democrats overperformed in special elections before the 2018 midterms, when Republicans tied to Donald Trump lost control of the House. 2009 to 2010, Republicans overperformed in special elections before Democrats tied to Barack Obama suffered major losses in the 2010 midterms. Why many Republican strategists are worried about suburban voters in 2026. That group has been quietly shifting the last few elections. Issues, economic pressure, wars, scandals, and major policy fears are exactly the kinds of things that can shape how voters react in an election. But it's important to separate what is confirmed, what is debated politically, and what voters believe, because elections are often driven more by perception than by a single fact. If voters believe a party wants to cut benefits, raise retirement ages, increase healthcare costs, that can cause strong backlash, especially among older voters, who are one of the most reliable voting groups. Wars or military conflicts often affect elections if they become costly or unpopular. Americans feel the country should not be involved. Foreign policy decisions tied to leaders like Donald Trump can become a major campaign issue if voters believe the conflict was unnecessary or poorly handled. Historically, Wars have influenced elections, from Vietnam to Iraq. Jeffrey Epstein has generated ongoing controversy. Many public figures have been mentioned in records related to Epstein. Being mentioned in documents does not automatically mean wrongdoing, but politically it can still create negative headlines. If new verified evidence were to emerge involving prominent figures, it could have major political consequences. I can also show you something very interesting analysts are noticing right now. Why some election forecasters say 2026 could become a wave year. It depends on 3 measurable indicators that are starting to move. Election forecasters usually look at 3 measurable indicators to judge whether an election might turn into a wave year, where one party wins a lot of seats. Analysts are currently watching these signals to see whether the Republican 7-point lead often signals a strong advantage. An 8-plus-point lead historically points toward a wave election. Examples: 2010, Republicans led the generic ballot's big Republican wave. 2018, Democrats led by 8 points, large Democratic gains. Right now, averages have shown a small lead for Democrats, but not yet at typical wave levels. Another major predictor is the approval rating of the national leader associated with the governing party. Political science research shows above 50% approval, the leader's party usually does well. Around 45%, mixed results. Below 40%, historically dangerous for that party. For instance, Barack Obama had approval in the low 40s before the 2010 midterms, and Democrats lost many seats. Donald Trump had approval in the low 40s before the 2018 midterms, when Republicans lost the House. Analysts watch whether approval numbers trend up or down over several months.
Not releasing the Epstein files. Fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't care what you do. Start a fucking war. Just don't let them get out. If I go down, I will bring all of you down with me.